many men need to detonate their lives with infidelity before the rest realize it's not worth the cost?
911 dispatch audio that started, we'll say around 4 o'clock. Take a listen.
Subject just called the caller, told her there's a male at the location and the house attacking her. The state's been stalking her for months.
That's just part of dispatch audio relaying a 911 call coming in from this Pittsfield Township apartment complex.
The subject she's on the phone with, that's one grabbed a knife, threatened the caller, and then ran, threw the knife down.
The audio from around 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, and not even an hour later, former Michigan football coach Sherrone Moore fired. The university sending out a statement saying he'd been fired due to an inappropriate relationship with a staff member.
He calls S1's wife in Ann Arbor saying that the subject is suicidal, losing his job today.
Lust will ruin your legacy every time. Every time. We've seen it with Shannon Sharp, we've seen it with R. Kelly, we've seen it with Diddy, and now we're seeing it with Sherrone Moore.
All the situations that you've heard, you never think a situation like this can happen to you, even though you're doing what you've heard about. Nah, this is gonna be different. She ain't like that. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna get out. Don't nobody know but her and I, blah, blah, blah. And I can imagine 6-7 months ago, I went through something very similar. So I know what that storm is like. Yes, and unless you've been in it, that's why when people say, this is what I would do, you don't know what you would do until you in it.
Men, you have to get it through your head. Some of these women are just out to get you, and you keep taking the bait every time. This isn't a talent crisis. This is a self-control crisis. We keep watching incredibly gifted men with the opportunity of a lifetime fumble away generational wealth, their reputation, and their influence because they lack sexual discipline and they lack impulse control.
Michigan didn't tiptoe around anything. They fired Sherrone Moore with cause the moment they confirmed he crossed the line with a subordinate. Not because he cheated, but because he violated the professional conduct rules in his contract. And when that clause gets triggered, the university owes you nothing. No buyout, no severance, no safety net, just whatever paycheck you already earned before you got walked out. And this didn't come out of nowhere. Michigan questioned Moore and staffer Paige Shiver months ago. They both denied the relationship, and without proof, the school couldn't act. But the tension didn't disappear.
I heard as far back as September following Michigan's loss to Oklahoma, I had a very reliable source, someone closely associated with Michigan football, call me and just say, it's widely known that Sherrone Moore has engaged in inappropriate sexual conduct with a staff member, and that conduct likely resulted in a pregnancy that was terminal. So I heard this in September. I did some due diligence, but every time I would hear something that corroborated that, I would hear something else that says that's just rumor, and this is what happens when football coaches lose football games, right? Come to find out throughout the fall, many other people and former players close to the program had been hearing something very similar. Ward Manuel, the athletic director, decided to fire Sherrone Moore with cause.
Fast forward to December, she ends the relationship on Monday, reports it, and by Wednesday, he's terminated. Hours later, he shows up at her apartment and everything spirals into a criminal case. According to the prosecutor, Moore forced his way inside Shiver's home, grabbed butter knives and scissors from her kitchen drawer, and threatened to harm himself while blaming her for ruining his life.
Barged his way into that apartment, immediately then proceeded to a kitchen drawer, grabbed several butter knives and a pair of kitchen scissors, and began to threaten his own life. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to make you watch. My blood is on your hands. The totality of the behavior is highly threatening and highly intimidating. She was terrorized, Your Honor.
Moore's attorney, Joseph Simon, pushing back on prosecutors' claims that Moore could be a threat to public safety.
My client's 39 years old with zero prior criminal history, zero prior contact with the criminal justice system in any fashion.
Shiver told prosecutors she was terrorized. That moment is what turned a workplace violation into felony home invasion, misdemeanor stalking, and breaking and entering charges. Before everything fell apart, Moore wasn't an untested gamble. He came into the head coaching role highly recommended, trusted inside the program, and positioned to carry Michigan forward after Jim Harbaugh. And to his credit, he delivered early. Michigan won the 2024 ReliaQuest Bowl under his leadership and closed the season with a winning record. Moore had momentum. He had the locker room. He had institutional support. That what makes the fall sting even more. He didn't lose his job because he couldn't coach. He lost it because he couldn't control the moments that mattered off the field. Financially, the fallout was instant. Moore was making around $6 million a year. Fired with cause means he loses the rest of that deal, the bonuses, the endorsements, the bowl incentives, and the long-term earning power that comes with leading a Big Ten program. Coaches with average seasons walk away millionaires. Misconduct with a subordinate erases all of it. If he had simply underperformed, he might have been terminated without cause and left with a sizable check. Instead, he left with a tether and court dates. And beyond the job, the money, the headlines, Moore created chaos in his own home. He has a wife of 10 years and 3 young daughters who isn't even old enough to understand what's happening. That doesn't mean this won't touch them. Children hear things at school, adults whisper, and his wife now carries a public embarrassment she never asked for. When you violate your vows, the family always feels the impact before the internet forgets. Moore was released to his home the evening of December 12th. He may be a public figure, but his wife and children didn't sign up for cameras parked outside while he walks into a storm he created. Then there's this raise. Public payroll records show Shiver jumped from around $58,000 to $90,000 in 1 year. No change in responsibilities. Once the relationship was confirmed, that raise stopped looking like professional growth and started looking like favoritism and misuse of influence. Institutions do not play with that. They cut ties immediately to protect themselves. And Paige wasn't married, but she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew Moore was married. She knew he had just celebrated 10 years with his wife and that he had 3 daughters at home, yet she still chose to participate. She wasn't a victim in the relationship. She was a willing participant who protected herself faster when consequences started closing in. Then there's another layer. People close to the situation allege this relationship wasn't a secret. Folks inside the department supposedly knew. Once the athletic director got wind of it, the claim is that Moore was given a choice: transfer Shiver or fire her instead. Instead of moving her to another department, he chose to fire her. And that's where everything flipped. Because allegedly, the moment he fired her, she told everything. And suddenly Moore was the one being escorted out. It's a familiar workplace pattern. 2 people cross the line, but only one carries the public consequences. Then comes the apartment incident. People keep claiming Moore threatened to harm her and himself, but the charges do not reflect threats toward her at all. If he had threatened Paige's life, he would not be out on a $25,000 bond with a GPS tether. According to the prosecutor, Moore threatened to harm himself, blaming Shiver for what he had already lost. And that ties into another alleged detail, the Plan B situation. It's alleged that there was a DoorDash delivery of a Plan B pill at the campus.
Head coach of Michigan got arrested not for cheating, but because he broke into the woman's crib that he was cheating with and tried to send himself and her to the Lord and Savior. What's crazy, she not even the one that told the school on him. DoorDash snitched on him. The school found out because he decided to order a Plan B to the school, and the DoorDasher recognized him and snitched.
Now, if that pill didn't arrive in time or wasn't taken, that could explain the panic. Losing his job, losing his reputation, facing court dates, and potentially dealing with a pregnancy scare all at once, that's a perfect storm for emotional volatility. And when Shiver told Moore she was calling her lawyer, that made it clear that she was playing defense while he was unraveling. Some people also pointed out the timing. Michigan's rough 27-9 loss to Ohio State back on November 29th, no touchdowns and barely 160 yards, already had frustration climbing. This scandal became the clean legal exit. Whether that rumor is true or not, Moore handed them the perfect justification. Getting to the reaction online, some Black women were calling this snow bunny karma, tying Moore's downfall to the fact that the woman was white. But he didn't suddenly switch races. His wife is white. His mistress was white. This wasn't about preference. This was about discipline.
Football coach Sherrone Moore gets fired as head coach after getting caught messing around with young white girl. I said Sherrone, not Shandy. I want to make it very clear to you all. I wanted to make the difference very clear because even though this year, just for this year, they had the example of Shannon Sharpe, an example was made out of Shannon Sharpe, somehow there are still Black men that are in positions of power, that have careers, that are willing to jeopardize it all for messing around with young white women.
At the same time, other Black women were saying, this is not our business. And cool, no one is forcing anyone to be invested, especially if you do not concern yourself with Black men who date out. But here's the irony. If the roles were reversed, if a Black woman coach slept with a non-Black subordinate and lost her job because of it, some of those same voices would find a way to paint her as a victim. They would say the institution targeted her. They would say the man manipulated her. Sympathy would be immediate. When it's a black man, that grace evaporates. And yes, there is a historical layer here. Relationships between black men and white women have been some of the most complicated, volatile dynamics in American history. There was a time when these relationships were illegal, a time when a white woman's accusations, whether true or manipulative, could destroy a black man's life. So when scandals like this hit, people project that memory onto modern circumstances. It's the same instinct that surfaced during the Shannon Sharpe situation. People weren't reacting to the moment, they were reacting to the history behind the image. Also, many black women felt as though if there's going to be a woman receiving benefit from a man's downfall, especially when the man is black, a black woman should at least be a person that gets a benefit monetarily, not a white woman. But history doesn't erase accountability. Moore wasn't coerced, he wasn't manipulated, he wasn't ambushed. He chose someone who wasn't protecting her own boundaries and expected her to protect his. Race doesn't guarantee loyalty, character does. This connects to the Danish deception story I covered a few weeks back. Onyeka, a Nigerian American woman, projected morality and safety onto a man because of aesthetics and fantasy. Moore did something similar emotionally. He placed trust and secrecy onto someone who wasn't protecting her own decisions. That's not about race, that's about discernment. And look, date who you want to date. Your preference is your preference. But when it comes to the workplace, none of that matters. You're not bigger than the program, not bigger than the university's expectations. And as a black man in leadership, your room for error is smaller. Not because the system is hunting you, but because grace is not evenly given. Plenty of people break their contracts and the institution sweeps it under the rug, but that grace is rarely extended to black professionals with influence. And on top of that, respecting marriage is non-negotiable. Whether you're the married one or the single one, stepping into somebody else's vows always creates collateral damage. These situations never stay clean. They never stay quiet. And the fallout always lands on someone. And when you're sitting in a high stakes role with money, reputation, visibility, and a family behind you, you have too much to lose to be moving sloppy. Zoom out and Moore isn't alone. Ime Udoka lost his Celtics job over misconduct with a subordinate. Mel Tucker lost his job at Michigan State over inappropriate boundaries tied to his position. Cam Newbauer resigned from Florida's women's basketball program after players alleged he verbally mistreated them and crossed conduct lines. The university acted swiftly to protect itself. Different programs, different details, same pattern. Leadership comes with expectations, and when you violate them, institutions will never stand in front of your consequences. And here's the bigger layer. Black professionals in leadership aren't rare, but we are fewer in high-profile roles. That means the expectations are higher, the scrutiny sharper, and the margin for error are smaller. Fair or not, when you sit in these seats, your performance becomes the silent case for or against the next black candidate. Moore didn't just lose his own opportunity, he made the path colder for the next black coach who earned a clean shot. He joins a long list. Udoka, Tucker, Petrino, Mayer, Freeze, of men who lost everything because they couldn't stay disciplined in positions where discipline matters most. Moore didn't just lose a job. He lost his platform, his reputation, his influence, his earning power, his future in the industry, and he destabilized the home he built. This isn't about interracial dating or preference. This is about leadership boundaries and the weight of your position. When you act like the rules don't apply to you, the collapse is guaranteed. Sherrone Moore is living that collapse in real time. Let me ask you this. What is the real lesson here, and who do you think pays the highest price when leaders forget the weight of their position? Like this video, share, as well as subscribe to the channel, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.
My name's Amber. I'm an employment law attorney, and I've been representing employees for over a decade in discrimination lawsuits. The University of Michigan did not terminate him for engaging in sexual harassment. They terminated him for having an inappropriate relationship with another employee at the school. So they terminated him for a violation of a policy. It's important that they terminate him for a policy because when you look at what he was intended to receive this month, it looks a little shady on Michigan's part. So when I read the record, when I read some of the news articles, it has been reported that he was allegedly to receive a little under $14 million this month. And the $14 million, or a little under $14 million, was the buyout that he was going to receive. But pursuant to his contract, he would not receive the buyout if he was terminated for cause.
Now, I'm not Sherrone Moore's attorney at all, so I don't know what's in his contract, but what I'm thinking is that if he's terminated for cause, he doesn't get the buyout, but if he's terminated for any other reason, then he still gets his buyout. I've been doing this for a long time, and I know that employers, sometimes they lie and they make up stuff so they can get what they want. Now, again, this is not to say what he did was wrong or to discount what he did to the victim, not at all. But what I am saying is that the beginning of how this started was because the company said that he violated a policy regarding being in a relationship. Now, I don't know if that relation that he was in was consensual. It seems like it was consensual. We don't know yet. But what I have read is that it seemed like it was just a policy violation that he was in a relationship or engaging in a relationship with another employee of the university. And to me, it just seems like that was a policy violation that they brought up, or they are terminating him for a cause because they don't want to pay the $14 million. Now, I might be wrong, but I've been doing this for a while, so I think I might be right also. If that was where Sherrone Moore stopped, if Sherrone Moore got terminated and was like, damn, I'm gonna be out this $14 million, then his situation would be a lot different. If he just stopped there and said, hey, I'm gonna be terminated, I've been terminated for a cause, he probably could have filed a lawsuit, he probably could have negotiated to get some of that money back. Because let's be honest, there's probably a lot of stuff going on in the Michigan culture. He probably could find someone who's a comparator, whether there are a white male or a woman who's engaging in similar conduct and they have not been terminated. And that's important, right? Because the bulk of all of my discrimination cases, or bulk of all discrimination cases, are really based on the fact that is this black person or this woman, are they being terminated for something that Caucasian or that men are doing, and so they're being treated less favorably than those men or those Caucasian individuals? My guess is probably that was somewhere there. He probably could have found a comparator. And he could have probably had a decent lawsuit. Or at the very least, I would take his case. But he didn't. And that's the problem with this entire case. What he then did was, when he learned the news, this is from the reports, learned the news, then he either threatens to harm himself, and then he assaults the victim. And that's where Sherrone Moore just went terribly wrong.
You ain't never lied. You ain't never lied. You ain't lied.
I don't see any way that Michigan Athletics Director Ward Manuel makes it out of this unscathed. It was reported today that he knew Sherrone Moore was having a mental health crisis before firing him and had no security and no HR present. An interesting aspect of this is that he has an undergrad degree in psychology and a master's in social work. So he should know how to handle it. There really aren't excuses for this going down the way that it did. And this is not Michigan's first scandal under him. It's not Michigan football's first scandal under him. And something that is important to sort of know with the context of Michigan is they are consistently referring to themselves as Michigan men, where it's a higher standard of like, you have to be this type of person to come to Michigan, to succeed at Michigan. They take that stuff very seriously there, except for clearly they haven't recently.
They have to clean up the whole athletic department at Michigan. I think Athletic Director Ward Manuel is going to have to answer to the university administrators, to the Board of Regents, about who knew what when. The reporting indicates that there was some investigation into improprieties by Sherrone Moore that didn't turn up the results that recent evidence led them to do the immediate termination with cause. I think that the future of the athletic director, the future of the athletic department, which has also undergone scandals in hockey and men's basketball, there is too much of a mess, Chris, for me to have any expectation that anything happens quickly. It is such a mess that I am entertaining the idea that Biff Poggi is the head coach in an interim status, even for the 2026 season. Wow. I don't think that's what would happen. That is not my bet. But in my no bad idea status of what the future looks like for Michigan football, I have entertained the fact that there are so many university-related issues that still need to be sorted through. The qualified coach might not be willing to say yes, because you don't know whether the athletic director that's hiring you will be there in the future, and you don't know what you'd be signing up for. So I do not think at all that we will see a college football playoff coach leave their post leading a college football team to go and take this Michigan job. It is too messy, too raw, too real right now for you to be able to give up on a potential title run.
Okay. That part.